Mr. Hardy, it's wonderful to be in Manchester tonight to see the final cut of The Wicker Man, which is taken from the Abraxas print, I believe. And what's really surprised me with the release of this version is just the immense interest and passion that exists for this film 40 years on. And I was just wondering, what do you attribute to the longevity of the feature?
Well, I think it was part of our task when we made it to make it out of time and space, as it were. After all, we were trying to suggest a society that had, although in many ways it was a contemporary society, had gone back to the religious way of life of what we imagined, and it was only our imagination after all. No one could possibly know what it was really like, a pagan society. And we took our cues from songs to a great extent, because of course there was no written language in the pre-Christian era that we could go to. We could only go to things that were being written by the Romans. Wicker Man is the obvious thing there, that the Romans wrote a lot about the Wicker Man, not only in Celtic Britain but also in Germany. And vestiges of the Wicker Man still exist in these various countries. For instance, Belgium has a huge festival where they float. He's a balloon man, but he's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
And things like the Morosco dance, which is what they do when Christopher Lee leads them in that dance with his gym shoes and his dress. And all that is perfectly authentic. And that is still, I mean, I suppose a vestigial thing that we can look at in this country is the Morris Man.
Mm-hmm.
The Morris Man dance thing is a vestigial thing from the Morosco dance. So we had those things to go by, quite a lot of that. And enormous number of superstitions which pointed to religious beliefs, or in order to furnish clues in a treasure hunt in plain sight. Mm-hmm. And using the music particularly for the atmosphere, but not only for that, but for the lyrics. Mm-hmm. Rabby Burns was a big help, because I think Rabby Burns, I'd probably get shot by the Scots for saying this, was a fairly authentic pagan himself. I mean, I don't know what his real beliefs were,
mm-hmm.
No doubt historians do, but certainly what he wrote serves very well for a pagan society. And the songs that we use in the films, I mean, Gently Johnny, which I think is one of the loveliest songs, which is part of the Restoration, a love song, is attributed to him. And Corn Rigs at the beginning of the film. So there's a lot of him in it, really. And that is something which has authentically survived in Scottish culture, alongside, the Presbyterian Christian, slightly Puritan ethic. The interesting thing is that since we made the film, that has disappeared to a great extent, so that in the second film I made in this trilogy, mm-hmm. you can point to the fact that the Americans, for instance, see Scotland as very godless.
Yes.
And I think that's fair comment, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's great, thank you very much. And you mentioned the music and the songs that you used in the film, and I would like you to tell me a little bit about the writing process that you went through with Anthony Schaffer at the time. Who was it that brought the songs into the equation to work them into the narrative, as it were?
Well, I did the research for it. Mm-hmm. partly because I'd had a heart attack soon after we invented the plot, which we did together on an island I used to have Maidstone on the Thames. And I think rowing backwards and forwards from the island to collect the groceries every morning maybe what gave me my heart attack. But maybe also the huge amount we consumed and drank in those days. Either way, I had to spend about 5 months in hospital afterwards. And while I was there, I did all the research. And so, having got the plot agreed between us, and I knew what Tony Sheffer wanted to do, I was able to sort of furnish him with scene after scene material from two sources. Mm-hmm. One was Fraser. I think Fraser's the most important. The other one was the Sharp collection of songs, which is up in Camden in London. And so we had a proliferation of material to choose from, really.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. You've spoken before about Tony Shaffer being a wonderful gamesman, yes, and how with the Wicker Man he wanted to create the ultimate game, as it were. How does one go about structuring something so elaborate, a mystery as such?
Well, have you seen The Sleuth?
I have indeed.
Yes. Well, he does it in The Sleuth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was sort of second nature to him.
Yes.
He and a group of friends, with his brother Bartley, the great playwright, some other, mostly Americans actually, were involved in this competitive game of playing elaborate practical jokes on each other. And I, willy-nilly, because I was his partner for 13 years, joined in on that. And I think that he saw the really good detective fiction as being, or perhaps his games playing as being an offshoot of really good detective fiction. Mm-hmm. It all worked together, the clues and and the suspense and so on. And so, in a way, I think that's one of the reasons why the Wicker Man likes Sleuth, a genre of their own.
Mm. Yes.
Because they come out of a different discipline from those things.
Most definitely, because you've got musical elements, you've got comedic elements, and you've got the darker elements, which sort of have it attributed more towards the horror genre, which is fantastic. And I was wondering, this is just from a narrative perspective. With the Wicker Man and the residents of Summer Isle, I had always wondered, how did they manage to get Sergeant Howie in particular to the island? Was it a case that they had reach that went beyond the island itself, or was it that they fabricated an incident which they knew that Sergeant Howie would investigate?
Would have to investigate.
Yes.
Well, I think one can't discount the possibility. After all, Lord Summerisle was part of the local aristocracy, was presumably educated at Fettes or some such school, and probably went to St Andrews or Glasgow or wherever. And so he would have had plenty of contact with the mainland. I think that plainly he was the magus in this plot, and he had arranged for emphasis. It's sort of scene with the hair,
yes,
which he's really sending up high rotten. And it's very obvious that he knows what he's doing, and even to Howie it's very obvious. So I think we have to have him take responsibility for this. And when he says, the game is over up on the cliffs after Howie and the girl appear from.
Yes.
And Howie says, "What game? What game?" And the game of the hunted.
Yes.
Hunting the hunter.
It's a wonderful moment of exposition. It really is.
Yes, it is.
It's fabulous.
It all comes together.
Yes, most definitely. And I wanted to ask you as well, you've continued the sort of thematic content through the Wicker Tree, and I was wondering if you would be able to tell me a little bit about the Wrath of the Gods, just before we...
Well, the Wrath of the Gods really takes the line that it's the gods' turn.
Mm-hmm.
And I've used the last opera in the Ring cycle, which of course is very much concerned with the gods are concerned with the humans.
Mm-hmm.
For two reasons. One, because the musical carapace, as it were, is useful, and I can give all the characters the musical leitmotifs, and then turn them into modern pop. For instance, the Rhine Maidens get to be quite like the Andrews Sisters.
Yes.
That sort of thing.
Brilliant.
I mean, we send up Wagner, I'm afraid, rather in the last piece. But really, it's just to have the gods go back to Valhalla to think up another episode with humans.
Fantastic.
And we shouldn't feel too sorry for them, I don't think.
Yes.
No.
I greatly look forward to it. Robin Hardy, thank you very much for your time this evening. That's wonderful.